chess does not fit women properly. Women are weaker fighters. Yeah, he actually said that. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Checkmate to Certainty, the dual downfall of Garry Kasparov. We're going to unpack the story of an untouchable god of chess who was completely humbled by the exact two things he wildly underestimated. Let's get right into it. So that quote you just heard, that was Garry Kasparov back in 1989. Now, to really grasp the magnitude of his eventual downfall, we first have to understand just how towering his empire actually was. Just think about the number 22. At only 22 years old, in 1985, Kasparov became the world chess champion. For 15 straight years, he was literally the undisputed center of elite chess. His style was aggressive, it was frighteningly imaginative, and honestly, he seemed like the absolute limit of what the human mind could achieve on 64 squares. When he was at the very top, playing against him wasn't simply a sporting event. It felt like arguing with a king. But, as we often see, supreme confidence usually breeds massive blind spots, and Kasparov had two major ones. First, his absolute certainty about machines. He publicly laughed off the idea that a computer could ever truly match the greatest human players. He thought it just wasn't going to happen. And second, his certainty about women. He was openly dismissive of female players, going as far as calling the brilliant prodigy Judit Polgár a circus puppet. Now, the wild part here is that these weren't tactical chess strategies. This was just pure prejudice dressed up as expertise. And it set the perfect stage for two monumental, wildly different beatdowns. Let's look at how that first challenge escalates, because it happens incredibly fast. In 1995, Kasparov goes on the record with Wired magazine, explicitly doubting a computer will ever play like the best humans. Flash forward just 1 year to 1996, and IBM's custom-built machine, Deep Blue, actually manages to snag a single game off him. Now, Kasparov still wins the match overall, so the king is bleeding, but he's standing. IBM, though, they don't back down. They completely upgrade their system with one single goal: dismantle the champion. And that brings us right to the rematch. New York City, May 1997. The tension in the room is it's at an absolute breaking point. We are at the final game of the match, and it is tied. Kasparov makes a very uncharacteristic, serious early mistake. And Deep Blue, it doesn't blink. Calculating relentlessly without a single ounce of mercy, it goes on the attack. And then, the unthinkable happens. After only 19 moves, the world champion, the untouchable Garry Kasparov, abruptly resigns. Just 19 moves. It was a literal existential shock to the entire world. The sheer, terrifying reality of this match was summed up perfectly like this. A man who spent his career forcing opponents to doubt themselves now sat across from an opponent that could not doubt at all. Think about that. Deep Blue didn't understand fear, it didn't appreciate the beauty of a sacrifice, it could not care less about Kasparov's towering legacy. All it did was relentlessly calculate the battlefield, faster than a human ever possibly could. It was an incredibly cold, unfeeling victory of pure computation. But while that loss to the machine was a cold, bitter shock to human pride, what went down 5 years later was something else entirely. It was a deeply personal, distinctly human revolution. And it was built around one simple, undeniable truth. The board absolutely does not care about gender. Because in 2002, Judit Polgár, yes, the exact same woman Kasparov had so openly dismissed, sat down right across from him in Moscow. Let's just say the so-called circus puppet did not show up to perform. She came to win. Playing with the black pieces, Kasparov suddenly finds his exposed king under a fierce, relentless attack. Polgár completely seizes the initiative and just chokes out his defense. After 42 brutal moves, Kasparov resigns. She didn't beat his argument in some debate hall. She defeated it right there on the board. No speech needed, no permission asked, just a devastating checkmate to his ego. Now, here is where it gets really fascinating. If we put these two massive defeats side by side, the contrast is staggering. On one side, you have the cold defeat. Deep Blue basically proved that a machine could conquer a highly complex, formal, rule-based task. But the machine felt absolutely no triumph, right? It was just executing code. But then, you look at the human defeat. This was completely different. This was profoundly personal. Judit Polgár didn't just win a rapid chess game. She actively shattered human prejudice. She used the exact same 64 squares where Kasparov built his entire empire to prove that his cultural biases were utterly obsolete. And if we flash forward to June 2026, the legacy of that first cold defeat against the machine is honestly pretty crazy. Just think about the sheer size of this gap. Gukesh D, the incredible reigning human classical world champion, sits at a massive FIDE rating of 2732, which is amazing. But then look at the leading chess engine today, Stockfish 17.1. It is sitting at a mind-bending 3645. To put that into perspective, that gap is mathematically insurmountable. The machine didn't just win a match in 1997, it definitively won the game of chess. Top grandmasters today don't even pretend it's an equal fight anymore. Which leaves us with one final really fascinating question to think about. Whose victory was more satisfying to you? Was it Deep Blue mathematically defeating the man who doubted machines? Or was it Judit Polgár fiercely tearing down the man who doubted women? The board only ever remembers the final move, but we remember the story behind it. I'd love to hear your take, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you subscribe before an AI predicts your next blunder. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.